Virginia Tech's in spring camp. We bring in Mike McDaniel from inside the ACC to break down the Hokies. And Mike, you got to think that Justin Fuente was thinking Gerard Evans was his guy for 2 years when he brought him in from the JUCO ranks, and things went so well for Evans, and maybe he made a bit of a questionable decision that he's off to the NFL. So Fuente's 2-year plan for Evans is for naught, and now he's got to find another quarterback, and he's got plenty of options, but decent isn't going to do it at Virginia Tech. You got to find a guy that really can make plays, and hopefully one of these candidates is going to break through and be the guy.
Yeah, so it's funny because they have 6 or 7 different guys playing quarterback, and there are only 3 guys that matter. And you look at camp right now, Josh Jackson, he's a redshirt freshman. He's the favorite to ultimately become the starting quarterback. His name was actually in the mix last year when Gerard Evans, Brendan Motley, and himself were all battling for the starting quarterback job. And Jackson made a late play for the position late last summer, right before fall camp. Coaches were talking about how impressed they were with his work ethic in the weight room and how he was picking up the offense in the team meetings that they were holding. And then the Hokies go through fall practice, and all of a sudden you start hearing Jackson's name pop up a little bit more, and you're thinking, okay, well, we don't know much about Gerard Evans. We know he's a transfer. He had pretty solid stats. So is it going to be him? Is it going to be the veteran Brendan Motley? Or is it going to be his kid Jackson, who really just came out of nowhere? And, Jackson made the play last fall and didn't quite win the starting quarterback job. He ends up redshirting, has that year to put on weight and get a little bit more athletic and, focus on really refining his skills and learning the offense. And now, coming a year later into the fold in the starting quarterback job, perhaps unexpected, like you mentioned, because nobody was really envisioning Gerard Evans making the jump to the NFL so quickly. Jackson can step in and potentially become the starting quarterback, but he's got some competition at the position. Hendon Hooker, true freshman, pretty highly sought after recruit, fringe 4-star, very highly touted 3-star quarterback, depending on where you look, 6'5", about 210 pounds now. He's putting on a little bit of weight now that he's, become an early enrollee at Virginia Tech. He's been there this spring, working out with the Hokies. And I think that's going to be very pivotal for his development down the road. And then one other guy mentioned is A.J. Bush. He's a 6'3" quarterback, originally out of Nebraska, a guy that, didn't ever really get on track there with the Cornhuskers, ended up becoming a third-string quarterback a couple of years ago. Left there, wasn't an ideal situation for him. Goes in transfers to Iowa Western Community College, puts up rather mediocre stats on the junior college level. But then, the coaching staff, with the Hokies, Justin Fuente, Brad Cornelson, the quarterback / offensive coordinator, coach, and he, looks at A.J. Bush, and they're really happy with him and his development. They offer him a scholarship and they bring him on board, and he's the third guy competing for the starting quarterback job. So Coach Fuente doesn't really allow much media availability in his spring practices, doesn't really allow much word to get out of the way he's leaning one way or another. We saw how tightly of a ship he ran last year when the starting quarterback position was in flux with Evans, Motley, and Jackson. So we're not getting much out of Fuente, but I think how you handicap it right now is, Jackson is probably the leader in the clubhouse. Hendon Hooker's right there, and Bush seems like he still has a shot to become the starting quarterback. And, we'll learn more about this as we head into next week, where there will be more open availability in their final practices leading up to the spring game next Saturday. They're holding an open practice there in Blacksburg for the fans and for the media next Tuesday, and then April 22nd, it's all go for the final spring game.
Yeah, I mentioned to you, Mike, that when we were talking before we started to record that I saw A.J. Bush play at Nebraska's spring game, probably threw 7 or 8 passes, didn't look that impressive. He looked rather lost and very inaccurate. You could tell he was an athlete. He's a left-handed player, and that was 2 years ago in a spring game. So I wouldn't put a whole lot on that. Who knows what he's doing in spring practice. He's apparently good enough to stay with these top 3 and be at least in the consideration